Announcement time, Spencer.
Yes.
Well, since I am not going to be continuing the IRC for Jerusalem...
Real quick, I feel like we should have took a bit of a break there, so then in post you could have put like a trumpet sound.
I can still do that.
For the announcements,
Bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
Okay. Pause. Bubba da bubba dee doo da da. And then announcement. Since I'm not going to be doing the IRC Jerusalem anymore because...
Shame.
I partly blame Ash because he just, when I got sick with the COVID, was just like, I guess we're not doing this anymore, and just abandoned completely because he got a library copy. How many times could you check that book out? It would take 800 renews to get through that thing.
I don't think I think that'd be the one book that the library is not worried about.
Just take it.
Just take it. Just keep it.
Making the shelf bend in the middle. Well, since I'm not going to be doing that, we were discussing doing another bookcast series. Little deviation from bookcast. New series on the DPW podcast. Let me know what you think. We got Haruki's, what is that called? Haruki Murakami's first person singular. It's his new, fresh spanking brand new short story collection. And Spencer has never read any Haruki Murakami. I've read most of his work. So it'll be interesting for both of us to, I can say, hey, Spencer, it's not normally this dog shit. Or, hey, Spencer, what do you think? It's because I think it's good. So that'd be fun. But here's what I propose. It'll be a podcast series called The Murakami Guys. Does that sound? Or do you want to be boys? Murakami Boys. Just for the name, for the...
Yeah. Well...
Murakami Guys. Gotta have Murakami in the title so people know it's about Murakami.
Yeah.
We'll flesh that out later. Anyway, so the episodes, because there's 8 short stories in this collection. So what I figured we could do, read one short story and then do an episode on that short story. And then the episode will be short. Like, I would imagine 10 to 20 minutes, just like little shorts, hopefully. Like, we try to keep it short as possible. And we'll air those like on a Friday or something. So what do you think? And then we could cover different Murakami stories and stuff in the future, too, if we want to keep the series going.
Yeah.
So yeah or nay?
All right, I thought you were gonna go with your other idea for another new series.
I don't remember.
But something about like reading like classic horror stories and then talking about it or something.
Oh, we're gonna do that too, but that'll be after this.
Oh, we might be getting too many separate spin-off series.
Does it matter?
Well, I guess it depends if the
I figured the horror story will we can record those whenever, but bank those for Halloween time.
Yeah. Though, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what the listeners would they rather listen to us more of the Vice and...
We'll still have those on Tuesdays. That'll be our normal episodes.
But I'm just saying, there's only so much podcasting and writing that, that two fine gentlemen like ourselves can do,
Good sir. The audience wants it.
Well...
And there's a lot of Murakami fans out there.
I mean, are we sure they want it?
I want it. I want it. And that's all that matters. Look, we'll try it out and see how it goes.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just saying because we're having a lot of different spin-offs and,
How many spin-offs do we have?
We have a book club.
But we don't do that often. It's not like we're doing these things all at the same time.
But exactly, so it's like... How many things are we gonna do that we're just like, oh, fuck it, and never, like, you know what I mean?
The only thing that the spinoff that we have that is steady are the DBS episodes.
Well, yeah, those are I think those are coming more the main episodes than the...
But the other stuff, those come and go. It's fine, Spencer.
No, I'm just,
It's fine, unless you want to pay big podcast money and start a bunch of other podcasts.
No, but what I'm just saying is that maybe we should... see if the audience would rather listen to the different kind of series, we could take a pivot to that and not have as many
regular episodes.
Yeah, Vice episodes, or maybe less until we start getting like guests or stuff like that. You know what I mean? It just depends on what the audience wants. Maybe they're tired of hearing us talking about like you just need to sit down and write like.
Well, maybe the audience wants that and another series on Fridays.
They might.
Our numbers say they do, Spencer. You don't get to see the podcast number. Only I get to see the podcast numbers.
Which means you could say that whatever.
I could lie right to your face and be like, yeah, they all say they love the episodes about writing the most. Actually, those are our highest rated episodes. And the House of Leaves Part 1 IRC is up there too.
You think that's just out of curiosity?
I think they just enjoy us bitching about that awful, awful book.
But couldn't do it for the next like two episodes?
The other episodes got high views too. It's just that first one's like, because I think people were really going to it. Then they probably go, I never even read this book. I don't give a fuck. Maybe they're thinking about reading it and they, But I'm hoping we have the same thing with the Murakami stuff. Is like, oh, he's got Murakami in the title. I love me some Murakami. And then they go and listen to it and be like, well, these guys suck. But we got their download. Or not, I don't know. We'll try it out. Trying out things. Trying out things that aren't writing books. But you got some writing done this week. Mm-hmm. So that's good. I've sat in the chair with the laptop open.
I'm happy you said that because that reminded me I had this planned in my head that whenever we record the next the first episode back from your getaway, I was gonna do this like we're talking about the old wrestling promos.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got it all set up, or are you just dying?
Yeah, I'm dying now. But yeah, I had this, like, I wasn't sure I was gonna shout, but it's gonna be something along the lines of like,
wait, before you go into, are you gonna actually do it? Because then we'll just wait for the main episode. When the episode starts, not the cold open.
Maybe. I can get it. I can get into it if you want. If we're gonna use that as the break into the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll end this. And you can mull it over in your head and polish it better.
Yeah.
Because what it sounded like you were about to do is going to be hot dog shit. No offense, Spencer, but wait. Wait a minute. Let me just get, brother, let me tell you. No, that ain't it. Brother. No, that's not the right tone. So we'll let you get into it proper here. I got to pick a name for you off the calendar. Or not the calendar. Globe. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. 20-minute guitar solo. Sorry. I got my COVID shot today, so I'm amped the fuck up, brother. Sorry, I don't want to take your thunder over there. I see you concentrating hard. I am Caleb James. Spencer over here flexing. With me today, Spencer, the Warsaw Warrior Church.
I'd like to take this moment here at the top of the episode to congratulate the man here on the other end of the table here on a milestone here, getting married to the love of his life. But this lazy asshole that spent the last week hiking, checking out the scenes over in Denver and all the coolness over there. Probably we're taking into things that he doesn't want to get to in the podcast right now. I'm sure I don't want to put his business out there on the front street. But as he was having the time of his life, hanging out with the love of his life, doing all this fun shit, I was sitting down doing work, breaking the keyboard every day, finishing stories, where this man over here was doing jack all shit.
One, I'm disappointed you didn't use the word grinding. I feel like you should have been grinding away. And two, you went through a lot of keyboards if you're breaking it every day. Yes, I did a lot of jack all shit climbing mountains while you were sitting here on the grindstone.
Watching your cat.
He was watching that's why Spencer was at my house. He doesn't just break in. I mean, he did. But he doesn't just break in to sniff my seats and stuff. He had to watch my cat because she's bad.
Yeah.
She's a bad kitty. She's not a nice cat. She's an asshole.
I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't if you didn't watch her for a week, she'd probably dig to China.
Oh yeah, she'd do something foul. We had an episode today that wasn't about wrestling or promos or anything.
See, I was waiting for you to be like, after I got done doing that. Well, actually, Spencer, during my vacation, I wrote 3 short stories and be like, "Hey, you son of a fuck."
I actually didn't want to say anything, but as soon as I came back, I actually wrote an essay. So it was like immediately. I hand wrote it and then wrote it on the old computer, and I worked completely edited my whole story up till the point that I'm working on. So I wasn't completely useless. I just am useless now. But I did not do any writing while I was over there. But I did lots of reading. Speaking of Haruki Murakami, I read the fuck is that? The West of the Sun, South of the Border. Not a good book.
No.
I mean,
no,
it's not a Haruki Murakami book. It's more like his first main novel, Norwegian Wood. But that novel, while it had like romance elements, it was still had like some magical realism kind of thrown in. It was just interesting. This one didn't have any of that. It was just like supposed to be like straight. I don't know, like man and woman story. It wasn't very good.
Now, how big of a library does he have? Does he have like a
going back since the 70s, I think.
But I mean, like, is that has he done like a lot of has he put out a lot of books?
Yeah, he's put out a shit ton of books. Not, I wouldn't say Stephen King amount, but he's put out a lot of books, some very big books. Like one Q84 is actually 3 books, but in the American edition, it's one big fucking doorstop.
So it's kind of just one of those things as like, no matter like when you're a writer that gets to that, like if you put out like over 30
you're gonna have
books,
some stinkers.
Yeah, some aren't gonna be as good as others.
I mean, the writing's still good. It's just the book itself. I just didn't think it was that interesting.
Yeah,
I gave it like I think 3 stars. It was a 3-star book.
Other than if you come across an author and they only have like 5 books, and you're like, if 2 of them are shit, I might not want to read the other 3 because it.
Well, I mean, like that kind of book it's what I would say. If you read that book and it was written by somebody you didn't know, just like an unknown author, you'd be like, okay, that was okay. But when you read it and you find out it's like one of your favorite authors or like a really good established author, then you're like kind of disappointed. It's just one of those things, like you're going against the expectations of somebody who's done so much. Yeah. So it's not really his fault. I mean, it's just an average book. Anyway. I keep hitting this.
I don't know. What the fuck was
that wasn't over here. I don't know what that was. So yeah, what was I saying besides that?
You were reading.
Oh, yeah.
What else did you read?
I'm halfway through Decay of the Angel by Yukio Mishima. I've talked about this probably too much on the podcast.
No, is that the Coin Locker Baby? Is that...
No, that's Ryu Murakami. Separate guy, no relation. He's not related to Haruki Murakami. They call Haruki Murakami is the Beatles of Japan, if you're just going with that kind of metaphor. And then Ryu Murakami would be the Rolling Stones.
I thought he was going to go with the Monkees.
No, not the Monkees. Monkees is a knockoff of the Beatles.
Well, that's why I didn't know. That's why I thought maybe that's what you would.
No. He's a very quality writer as well. I only read Coin Locker Babies, but I was looking at his... Because he makes movies and stuff, too. Like, he's a very prolific guy. And apparently, I think you would like his work more than Haruki Murakami's work. Because Haruki Murakami's more literary. Ryu Murakami's more almost like pulp.
Okay.
Like just murders and killings and stuff like that. So, let's get into today's episode. Nobody wants to hear me talk about books. Anyway, today's episode, books. These forgotten books were once considered classics. I didn't read this article. This is... from our friends at Bustle.com. We've brought up Bustle a couple times. This was written by Maddie Foley. It's 2017, so I don't know if there would be any additions to this list, but I thought it was an interesting topic because, how often do you hear about... It kind of goes with movies. Like Avatar is a good example. When Avatar came out, biggest movie fucking ever, and then a year later, nobody fucking remembers Avatar. I don't even remember the plot of Avatar, really. Like, nobody talks about it except for when we're making a second one. Why? Nobody wants it.
Sure you are. He wants to make like 6.
But this is like the book version of the books when they came out, oh my God, classic. Like this is the best book ever. And then nobody gives a fuck anymore. They just forgot all about it. So I just think that's like an interesting thing. I'm just going to go into the list. I'm not going to read all this intro here. And I already regret this. Is this a Spanish speaker or a French speaker here? So number 1 on this list. Telemachus by Francois de Fenelon. I'm proud of myself for getting Francois right.
Yeah.
I've read Francois, but I've never said it out loud.
Yeah.
Could have easily fucked it up, said Francis. Considered a masterpiece of French political theory, Telemachus, I'm definitely saying that wrong, Telemachus. I had French in high school and didn't pay attention at all and got a D. And since then, no French. I don't like, you know what? As much as I love studying languages, I don't want to study French for one reason. Snobbery.
Yeah?
I just find the French to be snobs. So if you're from France and you're listening to this podcast, you're not, because you think, American podcast, we don't listen to this.
Oui, bread.
Yes, bread. I got you, Spencer.
I for towel.
Anyway, considered a masterpiece of French political theory, Telemachus reportedly, I keep saying that with like a Spanish inflection, reportedly influenced Montesquieu and Rousseau, oh fuck dude, in its retelling of the education of Ulysses' son Telemachus. That doesn't sound interesting to me. It sounds French.
I could see why it's no longer considered a classic.
That's why I haven't read La Mise yet, because I'm the French in this.
Isn't that big too?
You look at it, you can see it from here. It's all the way 2 miles away, but you can see it because it is big.
Girthy.
Girthy in French.
Not thick.
Now, this is one I thought sounded pretty interesting. Number 2, Of Human Bondage by W. Somerset Maugham.
Definitely got an interesting title.
It's got interesting. Yeah, Spencer can't look at these with me because his phone all of a sudden makes the fucking microphone not work right. I don't know why. So he has to just look off of mine.
Oh.
It's like an avant-garde.
Yeah, that's weird.
Kind of freaky. These people definitely grew up near a power plant. Though Of Human Bondage is considered by some to be the catcher in the rye for adults, specifically British adults, it currently sells on Amazon for under $2. Published in 1950 and believed to be largely autobiographical, Of Human Bondage follows Orphan Philip on, I don't even know that word, Bildungsgrund. Trip through Europe. I'm just going to say it's trip through. What the fuck is that B word at the bottom there? Have you ever seen that in your life?
No. No.
Bildungsgrund, Bildungsroman. It's Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman.
So
I feel stupid when I read these high society articles and don't know the words.
So according to that guy, is Catcher in the Rye supposed to be like a kid's book? Because then he said like that's Catcher in the Rye for adults.
Yeah, to be the Catcher in the Rye for adults, especially British adults. I guess this is a British thing. You know, it's through Europe, so.
I didn't realize.
Well, Catcher in the Rye, is taught in high school and it's teenage angst.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for kids. It's just not for teenagers or young adults.
But they don't. They don't teach it anymore, though, right?
I don't know, but they used to. Number 3, The Magnificent Ambersons by Booth Tarkington. I feel like a lot of these authors or their work has been forgotten because their names are kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Or just hard to pronounce or too much name. I am a strong believer in popularity coincides with name. Michael Jordan, super popular, but that's a great name. Yeah. Kobe Bryant, great name. LeBron James even, great name. Lesser, Dirk Nowitzki. Still kind of sayable, but also like the Nowinski. Like you say, hey.
That makes it, gives it the standout. Like, there's no other Nowitzkis.
But then you go the opposite route. Then you got like some of the newer guys like Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic, but it's spelled with J. Like you can go too far, then all of a sudden you got names that are hard to say, then people don't like it as much.
Steve Nash.
That Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, like how you make a little Canadian guy sound cool with Steve Nash.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Shaquille's a cool ass name. Shaq's a cool short name. Yeah. And O'Neal's like an Irish name. Yeah. So it just works.
And he's a big black guy.
Big giant black man. Everybody loves a giant guy. So that does work out. So I always think like if you're a writer and you have kind of I don't want to say a shitty name, but like your last name is fucking long Polish name or German or just something that people wouldn't be able to pronounce properly or just doesn't sound that good, use a fucking pseudonym. It's fine. Or a pen name. Or
if it's a common last, like if your last name is like Smith or something, like,
Yeah, if your name's like Dave Smith, there's like a million of those. You want something to separate you. Like Stephen King, there's a lot of Stephen Kings out there. He just happened to be the first one that came real famous.
Yeah.
But now, because I've seen there's actually other authors named Stephen King and they have to go by like something else or because, Stephen King wrote this, but wait a minute. Wait a darn minute.
Don Tuden.
Hi, Booth Tarkington sounds like a 4-year-old's imaginary astronaut friend, but he is, in fact, only one of 3 writers to win the Pulitzer in fiction twice. William Faulkner and John Updike joined him, by the way. The Magnificent Ambersons, which won the Pulitzer in 1919, follows the decline of the super-rich Ambersons in the wake of the Industrial Revolution. So, this guy kind of took the Halle Berry approach, or the Monique approach, where he won, he won it twice, though. Because, they won an Oscar, and then it seems like their career fell off after the Oscar. Like, you see that a lot in acting. Like, sometimes somebody will win an Oscar, top of the game, and then all of a sudden, it's just, career shit to the bed. I can't say if his career shit the bed. I never heard of this guy, but
No.
which is weird because he won 2 Pulitzer Prize, and I've never heard of him. This one, which I feel in 2021 kind of takes on a different name because I'm pretty sure this guy worked for Trump for a while. Scaramucci. Remember there was a Scaramucci?
Yeah.
And he was a real I think he's like a wannabe mobster type of dude. He was a real character. I remember him on Saturday Night Live getting spoofed. That's the name of the book, by the way. Scaramucci by Raphael Sabatini. Raphael Sabatini's 1921 novel Scaramucci is set during the French Revolution. Its protagonist, André Louis Moreau, engages in political resistance by quitting law and joining up with a ragtag group of actors. I do like ragtag. Anything with ragtag group. That's a winner in my book. Yes, really, this is not a John C. Reilly parody film. Sabatini himself was a prolific writer, publishing 31 novels, 8 short story collections, 6 nonfiction books, and a play. I feel like if we were ever to become prolific writers, we would we would be the unknown, obscure, category. Like you'd get your base fans that really like your work, but outside, even if we had like a big hit or something, I feel like we would always just be, under there. Like people wouldn't remember. And I'm fine with that because if you get really famous, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like if you're like Neil Gaiman famous, I feel like that'd be super annoying. Because people would keep coming, can you sign my arm cast? Can you sign my penis? Like, no, I don't want to. Number 5, The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. One would think, in creating what is believed to be the first modern English detective novel, you would solidify your place among the literary greats. That seemingly is not the case for Wilkie Collins, whose 1868 epistolary novel, The Moonstone, pioneered a new genre. Though he was well loved in the Victorian era, Collins was overshadowed by BFF Charles Dickens following his death in 1889. It is hard to compete with Dickens.
Yeah.
I mean, how you gonna compete with the Dick? That man has wrote some good books. I only read one of his books, and it was okay. It was called Great Expectations, but I didn't think it was great. I thought it was like okay expectations.
Mediocre expectations.
Keep your expectations a little lower. No, it wasn't mediocre. It was good. It was just a little overwritten, in my opinion. A little dry at times. This one sounds different. This is number 6, by the way. Star Maker by Olaf Stapleton. I like the cover of that. That's cool. It's like a black hole. Or no, it's like a thing, planet or something blowing up, a star blowing up. They don't blow up, they implode, right? And then they create a black hole.
Stars, yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Sounds like something I've heard a lot.
Seems like something, I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say.
He says a lot of things, though. Sometimes it's hard to pay attention.
Yeah.
Though he was born in England, Olaf Stapleton spent his formative years in Egypt. His 1937 novel, Star Maker, in which an unnamed narrator travels to other galaxies and parallel universes until he becomes part of the cosmic mind, is considered a classic within the sci-fi genre. It currently ranks number 1,106 within Amazon's space opera subgenre. Are they just saying these aren't classics because they're going by Amazon ratings? Is that what's happening here? Multiple times this lady has mentioned Amazon ratings, and also the pictures are from Amazon.
You're going to say because that last one looked pretty new. Looked like a new picture.
But for a 1937 novel, that seems like a pretty original idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, just so far, like, the reason I could think of maybe, like, why a lot of these stories aren't considered classics anymore is just because of the subject matter.
Yeah, they might not be necessarily super original, or another book came out, like, say, Catcher in the Rye, that did that book, that type of story better.
Well, I mean, just how many of those are set in, like, some kind of, like, French Revolutionary War, or, some kind of early, setting like that. And it's just like...
So you're saying these people are going to be huge in France, probably?
Man, not even, because they're still old. Like, do we think, like 100 years from now, like, is Hemingway still going to be considered a classic, you think?
I would say because I don't see anything replacing his work. See, the problem is, like, say you go, maybe like a lot of even 1800 writers, the writers of the 1900 overshadowed a lot of their work eventually. But, I mean, do we really have to worry about that now? I mean, look with how many, if you're going literary classics, how many literary writers are out there now?
Well, it's gonna just, like, over time, it's just gonna bend, and, what's gonna happen is it gonna be, the fucking, what's her name? The fucking Twilight lady.
Stephanie Meyer.
He's gonna be like, literary classics film, Stephanie Meyer, like.
Oh God. Twilight, the literary classic.
Yeah. Or maybe not that, but like, you know, like, would you be surprised maybe if like 100 years from now, if like a Danielle Steele or something like that gets, you know, thrown into like classics, you know, because she has the, you know, she has the prolific plot, she has a shit ton of, I think she got fucking more books than Stephen King does, like. I
don't want to talk about this anymore. It's upsetting me to think
this
of
is
the
a
future.
different episode.
This is the episode where Caleb gets mad. No, the classics will remain classic. Nothing will ever change that.
You don't have the glasses to push up on your nose for that.
I mean, if you think about it, it is pretty, like, strange that what we consider classics at most might be 250 years old.
Well, I mean, just look at it now with music. Look at what people are already considering classics.
1991 rap classics.
Yeah, so...
Oh, boy. Yeah, that sucks. Time goes on.
I mean, the only good thing about that is that maybe sometime before I die, that Stephen King can get moved into, like, the literary... Like, yes!
Yay, then asteroid comes.
They do it after he's dead because they wouldn't give... You know what? There's no way they would give it to him while he was alive, but...
Number 7, wrote by Patrick Hamilton. That's a terrible cover. Just says a play.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. I can see why it's not classic.
Yeah.
This English playwright and novelist gained fame for his Dickensian portrayal of British street culture and the World Wars. Through 2 of his more successful plays, Rope and Gaslight, were adapted for the screen. Rope, in particular, was produced by Alfred Hitchcock in 1948. Hamilton himself was already considered a neglected talent by the late 1960s. I'm sorry, but British playwrights don't generally become super famous.
I couldn't even tell the last playwright
that was super famous.
Yeah, well, the guy. No, I mean just even like modern times. With the guy who did Hamilton, right? He'd probably be the.
It depends what you're considering a playwright. They do plays. Is that considered being a playwright? That you just made a play?
I don't.
Because then you got like the guys who did Rent and Cats and all that shit.
Yeah, I have like Broadway, all that. I have no idea.
The Jesus and the Technicolor Dreamcoat or whatever that is. I don't know why I can't remember that guy's name. He's super famous among playwrights. He was on the South Park episode. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
Well, he's famous. Stop doing that, Spencer. It angers me. Because then I have to edit it out. And every time there's a pause, I gotta cut it out, and it sucks. That was the end of the list.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading this next article that follows it.
I'm sure it's great.
It's 40 new books that come out in May of 2017. And I've never heard of one of these. So, fuck, we got time. Going back to classics. Who do you think, though, like seriously, out of modern fiction, would be considered classic literature? I would say, what's that guy's name? Whitehead. I haven't read his work yet. I think it starts with a C. Fuck. We've been talking about wanting to read his work for a while. Oh, if you just look at Whitehead, that doesn't come up good. Not Conrad. What the? Hold on. I know what I'll do. Be a jerk here. Is it Colson? Yeah. I knew his name. Like Colson Whitehead, I think will be considered classic at some point. Like Toni Morrison. See, I feel like she's already there. Obviously, like Maya Angelou would be there. Neil Gaiman, do you think he would make it into the classic realm?
I would think so because of the kind of the different things that he writes about and like how he writes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? I think that I think he could definitely fall into that. I was thinking maybe, and I haven't read any of his stuff. He's been kind of like an author I've been wanting to try to check out, but like John Grissom.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I've seen movies, you know, based off of his stuff, but you know, and those seems like they could have a very kind of like a literary kind of, you know.
Yeah, feel to him. Yeah. I just looked up best modern authors, and Jennifer Lawrence is number 2. I'm just on Google. Like, why did that come up?
I say, what has she wrote?
I don't know. Probably something terrible. You know, that's not fair. She could be a great writer. I don't know. I heard David Duchovny. We've been talking about reading his novels. Apparently, they're very fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's probably what they are. They're probably fun. They're probably just like unrailed in like X-File ideas.
Yeah. I'm gonna put the cutoff for what I think would constitute literary classics in 100, 200 years from. I'll say 100 years from now. But this is still gonna be more children's classics. So it'd be like Roald Dahl, like those kind of guys. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. Though obviously she's super canceled now, but I can imagine after like Gen Z grows up, like I could see like Lord of the Rings style, those books coming back into fashion. People rediscovering those books, and if 80, 90-year-old J.K. Rowling's still alive, maybe they'll go back and be like, oh wait, she was a piece of shit in her 40s. Remember that?
Yeah.
Or 50s or however old she is now. I think she's probably like 60s now, right?
Dude, somewhere.
Yeah, she's older, but I can see
But there's one else you have to kind of at that point, especially that far down the line of separating the art from the artist. You know what I mean? I think becomes a little bit easier.
See, the thing is, it's hard to say what the future climate would be like because, if you asked me in the early 90s, if in 2021 we'd be talking about canceling H.P. Lovecraft and, bringing back all these bad things that writers from the early 1900s did, I'd be like, no, that doesn't make fucking sense. Yeah. Why would we do that? They've been dead for like over 100 years. That's stupid. But that's exactly what's happening. You tell me that, like the Hemingway documentary, they had to make it a point that like he also had, he said these shitty things. Like the climate now is like that, but will that climate be like that in the future? It's hard to say because I feel like it would be one of those things that like the pendulum, like it's gonna swing back eventually. So probably 50 years from now, everybody's gonna be barbaric asshole.
Nobody will give a shit.
Maybe we'll go back into the Ren and Stimpy era again, where everybody's just doing drugs and making crazy cartoons and
the good old days.
The good old days. Or it could be Leave It to Beaver. It's too far right, and now everybody's you can't say darn on TV. I think Pandora's box has been open unless there's like a big wipeout of internet or something. I don't see people going back to like that behavior.
You bring up Leave It to Beaver and just saying darn, but I saw an episode of Leave It to Beaver that involved voodoo dolls.
Voodoo dolls?
Yeah, because the Beaver's older brother's friend,
Wally, not Wally, that's the brother, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the real shit kid,
I don't
he's just a real shitheel. Just for some reason, like he was he's picking on he's picking on the Beaver for some reason and stuff for whatever reason just because he's a little brother.
Because they call him Beaver.
Yeah,
they knew what a beaver was.
And I forget because like I saw it coming into the break room like in the morning when I first started. They were just playing it because they just had like one of the Me TV on real early,
generic,
on early in the morning. So I missed like the beginning of it, but like somehow the Beav got this voodoo doll and was using it on him, and like so the kid thought that he was actually using it on him and he got sick and stuff like that. It was weird. It was like I would never have thought there would have been a voodoo doll episode in Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah, it's weird because during that time period, things that would be considered witchcraft were obviously very looked down upon.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it was for comedic sake, say Bewitched.
Yeah, like the kid just happened to get like a stomach ache.
Yeah.
And they like went into the room, like because how the brothers shared the room, and they saw the doll that had like a needle in it. So he thought that, like, you know what I mean? So he's like, oh.
Well, American media's depiction of voodoo and Haitian culture, and to some extent even like Southern, like Louisiana voodoo type of stuff has been very racist.
Oh yeah. What American doing racist here?
No way. American South being racist? No, fuck out of here. But especially with the Haitian culture, they really because the zombies and everything come from there. They just made them look like barbarians, and obviously Haitian people aren't just doing voodoo on everybody. Because if they did, there'd be a lot of people dead right now that deserve it, and I would learn how to use it. What were we talking about before we got to the fucking beaver? That's about...
classics. More classics.
So I think J.K. Rowling could eke her way into be a children's classic, and I would hope not adult classic, just for, I would like to think we evolve as a species.
I don't know, a lot of adults read those books when they were coming out.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying the reading level.
Oh.
Because obviously those were written for younger folks, and it did evolve. I haven't read Harry Potter, so I don't know, but I've heard it evolves.
Yeah, that kind of,
As, the people who were reading when they were kids, it got older, so by the time you were like a young adult or even a, adult in your 20s, the reading would be more, be up on that level. But even so, it's not, Gulliver's Travels or something where it's like, it might be written for kids to read or something, but it's very advanced. I wouldn't see that. As far as like what would be considered just literary classics for adults, I don't think we're going to see any novels reaching like the levels of a Moby Dick, where it's this big convoluted fucking book that's very hard to read. From this era, I don't think any writers are writing like that I've come across. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but will they be?
House of Leaves, literary classic.
That'll be a genre classic. It's right now it's considered a cult classic. I think it'll go down as a genre classic, whether it's horror or experimental. I'm not sure, but I'm fine with that. Stay there. It's not gonna be a literary classic, because there's a lot of things that aren't considered classics that I would consider classics just because of not only my enjoyment of them, but I think they just get pigeonholed because of one, the subject matter, and two, the genre. So Robert E. Howard's work. H.P. Lovecraft's work. Why aren't those considered classics when you read that and you go, oh, these guys are way more advanced than Hemingway. Yeah. They're just not talking about boring World War I shit. They're talking about, barbarians and stuff, or aliens. It's very subjective what you consider a classic, because, like, in that classic literature group, they always talk about, do you think Haruki Murakami will be a classic in the future? Do you think, and they're Stephen King, especially Stephen King's the big one. Anytime somebody brings him up, there's always one guy that's just like, no! Yeah. Fuck no! He's a fucking asshole! He can't write for shit! And then I'm just like, chill out, bro. Nobody's making you read his work. I don't know why that guy gets so angry. It literally is just one guy that he just loses his shit. And
then references that Dean Coons.
Dean Koontz can be a classic. His whole catalog will be considered classics when he's long and dead, just because of his horrible hairstyle. Because if you look at the greats, a lot of them had such terrible hair, such as Fitzgerald with the middle part, and it was kind of curly and fucking slicked at the same time. Especially those writers from the 20s. Some of them had some goofy hair. Now Hemingway, as you mentioned when you watched that documentary, that man had a good head of hair.
For most of the time.
Most of the time. Sometimes he's very disheveled, but...
I can't remember. Did I tell you that I would have, like... I think I came up with the perfect casting for Old Man Hemingway?
No.
Art Anderson.
What does Art Anderson look like right now?
It's Hemingway.
Does he? Let me look him up. Art Anderson. Because I could see it. He's bald, though.
Yeah, but that towards the end.
Well, I guess Hemingway did shave his head. He wasn't bald; he just shaved his head. But Arn Anderson,
maybe now he's getting too old. But if you could do like time machine casting, that would be.
Nope, that's 100% perfect.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's Arn Anderson, Hemingway, dude. Look at it. That's perfect,
right?
Arn Anderson, the Enforcer.
He even has the body type and everything.
I like that. Yeah, Hemingway was robust. Did you see, I don't think it was on that documentary, there was a picture. Did you see the Hemingway boxing pictures? Because for a while when he was like old, like in his 40s or 50s, he just randomly, like they mentioned in the documentary, he just randomly pay dudes, like, hey, go rounds with me, and he'd just box them and stuff. But
he just loved fucking up his head.
Yeah, he did.
Do you think if he didn't take those blows to the head, do you think he could have wrote in the way that he...
We answered this on the documentary question. I'm not bringing it up again. Yeah, everybody listen to the Hemingway episode we did. We covered that question. I said yes.
Yes.
But I think the alcoholism would have actually been more detrimental. So in Hemingway, when he was already old and grizzly, you remember how fat and gross he was when he was in Cuba?
Yeah.
And he was just always drunk and fucked up? Well, then all of a sudden, just one day he's like, oh, I'm going to be a boxer. And then he just got in really good shape.
Wow.
Yeah, going from how fat and gross he was to that.
Yeah, especially for that time period. That's jacked.
Yeah.
For that time period.
And he's still got the beard, so you know it's old man Hemingway. It's not. I just thought that was fucking weird. I was like, wait a minute, when was this? After the drunken fucking year of debauchery with the weird Cuban old guys?
That's awesome.
Old Cuban men? Yeah, so that was good. What books, we'll end it on this. What books have you read? And this could just be a personal question, so we don't have to go into, Stephen King, literary master. Like, you don't have to do that. What books have you read in your life that we haven't covered for the podcast, like Dracula and shit? Like, not that aren't classics now, like more modern books from 1960. No, because that still counts as classics. 1975 to now that you've read that you would that you would consider one day could be a classic, just in your perfect world.
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't have as a array of things that I've read like you have. I've had, because for years that's all I read was just Stephen King book. Like, that was one of the good things about him having so many. I would finish one
and just have another one,
and then just go to the next one. Like, and I mean, this is kind of hard because he's so new and he's only had a couple books. But man, I really liked The Path.
Path?
Or the
Hike.
The Hike, yeah, The Hike.
Drew McGarry.
Yeah, and I could see, like, just because of just the subject matter and the way he did things and stuff like that, I could see that kind of falling into
I could see that at the minimum becoming like a genre classic, but I don't know what genre you'd stick that in. No, I would say I could agree with that, because we're talking 100 years in the future, so obviously writing is going to be a lot different throughout the years, a lot watered down compared to, the flowery writing of the 18 and 1900, early 1900s, but I would say that book would be more along the line. Subject matter aside, just the way it's written would be closer to like Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Yeah. Because like if you took away the World War I bombing of Dresden part of and the encampment and all that in that book, then you just have a weird fantastical alien story and time travel story. So I can see The Hike going along those lines. If they say if it was The Hike, but it had to deal with also abortion or something. Yeah, was thrown in there like that was. Then I could see that would be on that same echelon. But I think that would be a good one. That was also like it was so nice to read a modern book, like a modern book, because we read a lot of modern books that are like 90s and 80s, 80s and 90s. But it was so nice to read an actual modern fiction book that I really enjoyed, that I didn't think the writing was boring, that the story is entertaining, and it was just a good book. And the fact that Drew McGarry is not a fucking old man. Yeah. Because, I like reading Stephen King, Haruki Murakami, stuff like that, but those are all old men. Yeah. Cormac McCarthy, old man. Everybody's old.
I mean, even people like, I've always talked about, I want to try to start getting into some, like, Brad Meltzer books, because he's like, I haven't really read any kind of suspense thriller, kind of things, and like, I like his comic book work and stuff like that, but again, he's old. Like, he's
Neil
old.
Gaiman, old. J.K. Rowling, old. Everybody's over 50, over 60. Yeah, Neil Gaiman's on the younger side of him, and he's about 54, 55, at least. He's
something like that,
there. So, Alan Moore, and grizzled. Though there is something to say about being super grizzled, that you actually become cooler.
Oh yeah,
at some point if you're that grizzled.
No, okay. So in my perfect world, because I'm gonna have to have at least one Stephen King. If I'm gonna pick one Stephen King book to put into the classic, I think it has to be The Stand.
The Stand.
I think it's The Stand.
That's what you're going with? I haven't read it, so I can't say. For me now, it would probably be The Shining of his work, because I really enjoyed Dr. Sleep as well.
The Stand is the little, like, it's good versus evil. There's the group of good people on the side of the mountain, on one side of the mountain, and there's a group of bad people on the other side of the mountain. And it's like, who's gonna win? And, and it has, Randall Flagg, and I think that one could, I think that one has the themes and the subject matter that down the line. Right. Though I don't know how. Though I guess there's a good bit of classics that are fucking huge.
Yeah, Oh yeah, fucking Marcel Proust's Remembrance of Things Past is like, a million words or something. It's like ridiculous. Can I say something controversial? I'm gonna judge this one off of the classic book club group, and two on the fact that I'm sure there will always be some kind of literary snobs. As long as society doesn't go too off the rail, we're always gonna have high society, super educated, super intellectuals who are like, Finnegan's Wake is one of the best works of all time, even though you can't understand it because, so always like that. So going along those lines, it's going to be a legit classic in the future. I would say even maybe 50 years from now, I'm not going to like it. I'm just going to say this. It's big. It's big, and Caleb hasn't read it yet. By your buddy. Are you doing a command, man?
Yeah, I'm charging it up.
Charging it up. Jerusalem by Alan Moore. It ticks all the boxes of what makes, what people consider now classic literature. So I could, long, boring, weird,
See, I've never read any of his pro work. I've just read his comic stuff. You've read some, other than Jerusalem, you've read some of his, didn't you read another one of his books or some short stories or something?
I have one of his books and I tried to start it and I couldn't because it started with caveman talk. Literally back in fucking caveman times, and he just made up a caveman. I don't know. I was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to read this now. No, I've read some of his essays and stuff, a lot of his essays and stuff, and he's a good prose writer. He just, I think he sniffs his own farts too much.
Which would put him in the literary classic.
Well, that's what when you read his work, you're like, oh, he's trying to be like a literary guy. He's not just writing, he's trying to be a literary man. Mr. Moore, you wrote comics. Do you remember that? Comic books, the picture books with the funny colors. No, I'm a literary wizard now.
Well, you think with his, I can say with his wizard powers, he would just be able to be like bibbity bobbity booping,
Yeah.
It'd be so.
But even when you read Alan Moore's comics, obviously, if there was such a thing as classic literature and comics, all his work would fall into that category. Which that's a fun topic too, if you want to consider what constitutes a classic comic. And, there's a lot of those. We'll do that in another episode though. I'm trying to think. Just going back to Haruki Murakami one more time, because he is rumored to always be up for the Nobel Prize in literature, but he never wins it, or at least he hasn't yet. I would say the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles and Kafka on the Shore, and maybe even Norwegian would all be considered classics in the future. For sure. So they're already classics in Japan, so I can imagine in the future they would be classics as well. If you folks would like to add to the conversation, you can always hit us up on Twitter at Drunk Pen Writing, Instagram at Drunken Pen Writing, same with Facebook, and you can go to the website, drunkenpenwriting.com. Space War Story is going to be out Saturday, but this episode doesn't air till Tuesday, so I guess the announcement doesn't matter.
If you haven't read it by now,
check out Space War Story. Do you want to do a promo for Space War Story like you did? I'll do the promo for you. Officer Smith, abandoned, forgotten, on a lone planet. But it's not lone, because there's a space war going on. And there's bombs and grenades. And he has to get to the medvac ship. But will he make it? Who knows? Read Space War Story. But also that also deals with a lot of mechanical fuckery.
Yeah.
Because his suit's fucked up and he's worried he's going to get reprimanded because his, much like what I would imagine, maybe not the U.S. military, but some militaries around the world are very cheap.
Yeah.
Our military is not cheap. That's all our money goes to. No, some militaries are very cheap, and if you broke something super expensive, they'd be steaming mad. Yeah. Even if you got blown up in the process, they'd be like, no, you got to pay for that. So he's worried about that, and he's just trying to get the hell off of this fucking planet. So check out Space War Story, drunkenpenwriting.com. Anyway, I like you guys and ladies. I like you ladies. I like you guys and ladies. I like the pansexuals. I'm gonna cut this out. Or will I?
You should.
I like talking like that, but it kind of makes my throat hurt. Thanks for listening.